Hello and welcome to CoffeeNet Podcast, part of the CoffeeNet streaming network at coffeenet.tv. This is the place where we meet with coffee people and spill the beans about what it is really like to live the coffee life. Whether we're talking with CEOs of large coffee companies, roasters, or barista champions, we are going to get inside information you haven't heard before. I'm your host, Jake Leonti. I've been working in the coffee for over 20 years, starting as a barista, then roaster, green grader, globetrotter, importer, and now podcaster. Today we are talking with Caroline Bell, co-founder and co-owner of Café Grumpy in New York City. This is our State of the Industry conversation, discussing all aspects of the industry in 2022, from sustainability to innovation, trends, and politics. We're here today talking about State of the Industry 2022 in coffee. It's been kind of a crazy year. We're still recovering from the pandemic and all these wonderful things. We have record inflation, we have frost in Brazil, we have a war in Ethiopia, and we got so many issues. So it's a great time to talk about what does the future look like. So I'm here with Caroline Bell, co-founder and co-owner of Café Grumpy in New York City. And Caroline, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're doing today?
Sure. Well, drinking coffee all throughout the day because we're going through all of these things that you just mentioned. So at least we have the coffee. We founded Café Grumpy in 2005. So it's coming up at our 17th year anniversary, actually, November 15th.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I can't believe it's been that long. And we've grown to almost 12 locations. Hopefully, next week we'll have 12 locations. Right now we have 11. And we have most of those in New York City. One is in Weehawken, that's inside a Whole Foods market. And then we have one in Coral Gables in Florida. And we have a roasting facility, grocery line, wholesale line, and a beverage line also.
Amazing. I've been on the journey with you for a long time. Since I first moved to New York, I was going to the original cafe on 17th Street in Chelsea. And just watching the growth of the company over those years has been pretty amazing. So well done.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So let's crack into it. Yeah. I think first we'll dive into a little bit about kind of climate and the environment and what that's meant to coffee this year. First, kind of the frost in Brazil kind of gave everybody a little bit of a panic and kind of changed prices for a minute. Did this affect you at all? And then beyond that, do you think this is becoming, kind of a thing that is going to happen every year? It's been a couple times the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
what do you think?
Well, I feel like definitely climate and social challenges for coffee producing countries definitely affect all of us that buy green coffee, just as far as people in those countries affording fertilizer, transport, finding people to pick the coffee. So it's really everything that happens in the world obviously is related, and all of these things, issues with the climate and social issues, affect everyone. So especially when you're in the coffee industry and relying on this. We don't buy too many specific Brazilian coffees, so that the frost in Brazil maybe doesn't affect us right now, but it's just a big, obviously we're aware of the overall challenge of the producing countries right now. So
Yeah, it seems to be just a growing issue with each country, whether it's leaf rust or it's frost in places that it didn't used to happen. And now we see, it's been a couple of years that they've been growing coffee in California, which to me seems a little bit strange considering they don't have any water. And everybody's worried about using a gallon of water per almond. I'm
oh
not
yeah.
sure how much water we're using per bean, but do you find this to be a reasonable response to climate change, is just growing coffee in Cali?
um I feel like maybe we could do better and just support more research on the ground and the agronomists that are working with the farmers, and just, we have to accept that we're going to be paying a little higher prices and just try to do our part as roasters, retailers, and try to get the customers to understand the challenges that the producers are going through and why they're going to be paying a little bit more for their coffee. So
What are some of the key origins that you work with?
we work with Honduras, Guatemala, Colombia, El Salvador, Burundi. We also have coffee from right now from Ethiopia. Am I forgetting anything? I don't know. Think that's pretty much mostly Central Americans, although our espresso, our Heartbreaker espresso blend is a Colombia and Ethiopia blend, so we're pretty consistent with our Colombias.
Nice, very nice. Is it a natural or a washed?
No, it's washed. Most of the coffees we actually serve are washed. I was just sample roasting earlier a bunch of naturals from Brazil that someone sent me, but I so far I feel like our customers, I don't know if it's because it's New York City, they just kind of want to get their coffee in the morning, go and like not really have to think about why it might taste a little different or funny with their milk. So, I understand the attraction to maybe different processes or even natural process in the honey process and the yeast ferment. But right now we found that our customer base really just enjoys a clean wash coffee. So
Nice. That makes sense. For Burundi, are you working with Janine at a JNP?
no, we have been working with Atlas to bring in the Shamba from, unfortunately, our coffee producer recently passed, Angel Ciza. I don't know if you heard that she recently passed, so that was very shocking and sad. We've been working with her for quite a long time, and she also had founded this Shamba mushroom project that we had been supporting, where the people working with the coffee also grow mushrooms for, obviously for eating and selling. So that's who we were working with. That was just recently she passed, so that's very, sad news for us
Yeah,
and for
sorry to hear
obviously
that.
our family.
So, what have you seen any kind of new emerging origins that have been coming about, either as a response to climate change or just that there's new opportunities for new origins to be growing coffee?
Uh, I feel like what I've seen more of is maybe people just trying with different varieties and just being a little bit more experimental. Also, putting more effort into maybe making better Robusta. So that's what I've been noticing as far as different origins. I'm a little bit like tunnel vision because we deal with like the same producers year after year, so we don't bring in too many new origins. I think we had some coffee from Congo during the pandemic that we really loved. But apart from that, we kind of stick to the same producers. So
Fair. So, what do you say about Robusta's getting improvement here? Are you ready to start working with any of those?
I mean, we have talked about trying trying some. I'm always open to trying things. It's like to learn, just to know what's going on, and it's fun for the staff. And I'm happy to always open-minded to considering different things. So you never know where this life will take you. Well, yes, we're open to different stuff.
I've worked in specialty many years, but I also have worked with a lot of different Italian roasting companies, and so I have dabbled in the arts of Robusta for many years, and but I've seen a lot of improvements, and specifically certain countries put out really beautiful coffees that are just like sweet and chocolate round,
Hmm.
and not just like peanut shells.
Yeah.
So it is definitely been a nice evolution. So they can at least, I think, work well even in a specialty blend,
Yeah,
if used right. Yeah.
and then now they have the CQI for the Robusta graders, so that's also, in the quality for that. So that will be interesting to see how that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that people do see it as a future kind of life raft for coffee in general because it is more resilient.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm always urging people to just, it's the same way that like people are always looking to like colonize Mars or something. It's like, no, but it's so much easier to just take care of the planet we have.
Yeah.
It's like we could just take care of the Arabica we have. We don't need to jump to Robusta yet.
Yes.
Yes.
Hopefully it's not too late. Hopefully,
I think so. We can maintain some of the growing regions if we can. So shifting gears over to kind of political effects in the coffee world right now. War in Ethiopia, obviously a big deal. It's one of the origins that you're working with heavily. As it caused any issues in terms of supply or pricing or anything like that?
I mean, definitely pricing has gone up quite dramatically for us with our Ethiopia coffee. I think it actually went up $2 a pound. So
Oh, wow.
yes, it has gone up a lot. But yeah, we try to just be aware of what's going on and also maintain commitments that we have. So it's, sometimes we might buy less of one producer's what do you call it? Production, just to kind of keep going with the relationship and get through in the harder times and then just see how things go. But yeah.
But you haven't seen any troubles with actually getting deliveries and having stuff come in on time?
I mean, I would say our size isn't huge, so for what we buy, we haven't had any trouble. Things have been a little late, but because the pandemic made us slower, we were closed for a while. It kind of, for us, it's like worked itself out in a weird way. If that makes sense.
It's nice. I guess we're all in the same rhythm on some level. Except the coasters and the centrals were so late this year. That was crazy. And
Yeah, I was fine with things being late after the pandemic. So I'm like, take your time. We're still getting through. So, but yeah, I feel like it's all gonna come. And then some production was down from some of the producers we work with. So that kind of alleviated some stress because there's a few producers we work with. Actually, all of the producers that we work with in Honduras, we buy their entire lots. So I didn't want to not do that because they've gone through so much trouble. But yeah, and the coffee has gone a lot more expensive, but they had a little bit of a smaller production this time. So we'll see how it goes.
fair enough. And then I'm gonna change gears again here into more of a cultural level. Are you a fan of TikTok, or are you more of an Instagrammer?
Well, for work, I am in charge of our social media and we have Instagram and that's pretty much mostly what we focus on. I did start a TikTok account, but it's it's just too much for me to handle. If I had a social media department, it might be okay, but personally, I don't have any of those accounts. It's just for work. So
Fair enough.
I'm aware of TikTok. I watch some stuff, but it's not something we are currently doing. I think you can really do a lot with all of these platforms and really gain a lot of followers and sell things, but it's just something we don't have the bandwidth for at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. It seems that TikTok and Instagram are having a profound influence on how people are enjoying coffee. Would you say that this is something you've seen, like in terms of like leading trends and where consumption is going?
Definitely, if people will come in and say, I saw this coffee on whatever Instagram or something, or do you make this certain thing? So that we'll see that affects how customers ask for things in the coffee shops, or if they get more familiar with things or something super trendy for a few weeks. So, and luckily we aren't Starbucks, so people weren't coming in and ordering like those $10 million and 10 million ingredient like lattes, when they couldn't even fit it in a cup. So thankfully that didn't happen for us, but there are certain things that people will say like, oh, is this coffee good for this? I saw this online. So, and it's an effective way to reach so many people and be engaging. So it's good.
Absolutely. Do you because you guys have been around a little while, do you find it refreshing that instead of getting asked to order Starbucks drinks at your shop, that you're getting asked to order Instagram drinks? Which is better?
I mean, we still get a mixture, especially because we were in Grand Central. Our location was a Starbucks previously, so we had a few months there where people would just not look up and just
Yeah.
order away.
Still thought they were in Starbucks.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. But I mean, they didn't have their coffee yet, so what do you expect? That's what we're there for.
Can't blame them.
Yes. Now I forgot the question. I need more coffee, I think.
What do you think about how do we elevate specialty coffee while cashing in on these trends? I mean, Blue Bottle obviously just came out with an instant coffee. I don't know. Is that a good move, or where do you see it kind of going, at least for Grumpy?
This is like yes, I think about this a lot actually. Because before the pandemic, we had pour overs at all of the stores, and you were at our Chelsea store a long time ago. We just had like the pour over. So, but now we have the brewed coffee, and for the seasonal drinks now, instead of saying we have this certain single origin, we'll still say that, but we also say we also have a maple spice or whatever, pumpkin butternut because I feel like people want more lighthearted things, more fun things right now because they've been so stressed out. So it's I have an internal conflict about this stuff. Instant coffee, I was thinking about too, because I have people ask about it. Like, I don't want to brew coffee. I just want to make it easily. I want to do this. Do you have pods? Do you have this or that? I'm not sure yet how I feel. I know for specialty coffee, I really feel like it would be great to be more accessible to everybody. So you could sell more coffee and support the farmers. So to be more accessible, you have to kind of branch out and bring in these different formats. So you have to kind of put maybe your personal feelings about it aside. Like, obviously I want everyone to like grind fresh and do whatever, but that doesn't really matter. We want to reach more people. So I've sort of made the decision, but it hasn't come to fruition yet. It would be something I would consider.
I feel like it's like a emerging identity crisis in specialty coffee.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Because so many of us came into this, like, a lot of us were purists or came in as baristas, and so you're like super purist, and you really, you want that pure art form, where it's like just the highest elevated version of coffee. But, if that's not what everybody wants, then eventually, yeah, there's got to be some sort of we're in a democratic society. Here
Yeah,
we are on
we
voting
hope.
day.
We hope.
So it's like, well, I guess if the people want to drink coffee with Delgano instant whipped coffee and put
Yes,
sugar all over it,
yeah,
that's cool.
that's what I was thinking about when you were saying the TikTok stuff. But also it's like, we have to be realistic. And one thing before the pandemic, we didn't grind to order when you ordered on our website. But then I thought people are like working from home. Not everyone has grinders now. They can't come in, get the coffee. So we added a grinding option. That was like a big step for us. And it seems ridiculous now to think that was a big deal, but slowly, slowly we're getting there.
Baby steps, baby
Yeah.
steps. Do you think that sustainability will ever win over convenience? So and I guess to frame that wider, if we think about coffee has just been moving progressively more and more and more towards convenience. I mean, it's always been there, but specifically in specialty, when it comes to instant, it comes to K-cups, it comes to all these things, but there's always a sustainability cost for that. Who's going to win? Is our laziness going to win, or are our virtues?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that. Like, I mean, we are so wasteful, and we're also kind of like, everyone's a little bit lazy and want convenience, and they feel like, oh well, tomorrow I'll bring my reusable cup or whatever. Just little things. I feel like slowly people are getting becoming more aware of the issues and little changes they can make. But I'm not sure I don't know how to answer that. I don't think
It's
I don't know
loaded.
if
It's a loaded
I don't know if it's
question.
one or the other, really. Like you talked about Mars. I mean, sending cars into space and stuff. Are we going to keep doing that while trying to put money towards reforesting, whatever? I think you could do both at the same time. I don't know if one's going to win or the other. I feel like that's like a human nature question. I'm not really sure how to answer that.
We're getting
I don't
deep
know.
today. We're
I know.
going deep into the issues.
I mean, I do feel guilty, like because our Java Jackets don't fit the small cups, and so like people order Americanos, they get double cups sometimes. That's not good. We do offer obviously discounts for reusable cups, and our retail packaging is biodegradable, and we've just changed. Well, it's been a while now, but we changed to Tetra Pak for a cold brew. So we were trying to do little steps ourselves as a company, but I'm not sure what the overall picture is really of how that's going to play out.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, as long as I think it comes down to if everybody can do what they're able to do, then that's important. And you're also finding your audience, right? So if your customers like what you're doing, then they're voting with their dollars by participating in that. So even if it's not everybody, I think that it's always going to be a split, right?
Yeah.
So some people are going to vote for convenience and some people are going to vote for sustainability. And I think that there's going to be some middle ground that might be created, and I think there's room for innovation on that.
Yeah, and definitely as a coffee shop, it's always on our mind, especially because of what we are selling. We're selling an agricultural product grown mostly picked by hand, and so we really are thinking about where it comes from and how everything affects the environment. So
You might also have a good opinion on this next topic, which is really getting into kind of automation in coffee, especially being more on the retail side and having kind of handcrafted coffees. More and more, we're seeing everything from actual robot arms to Versus and super automatic machines that are basically taking over the majority of the barista's work. How do you feel about that, and how do you see the way that that kind of trend is going to play out?
okay, yeah, these questions are deep, actually. Okay,
It's like
well,
about our whole lives. It's
yeah,
into society.
yeah, I can tell you've been in coffee for a while because you think about the same stuff. Okay, so some days I would love a robot to help me. It's true. Especially because I have two dogs, and it would be great to have like someone cleaning up the hair at home. Um, but I do feel like people appreciate like coming into a coffee shop. I guess there's a lot of things, but coming into a coffee shop, they really appreciate like the interaction with the barista, talking and like watching the crafting of the drink. Not in a pretentious way, but just in like, oh, I'm paying this much money and I see that someone's caring about what they're making me and I can see what they're putting into it. And maybe I have a favorite drink or a favorite alternate milk or whatever. So I feel like there you can't really replace that with, I know that there's a few companies that are using like the mostly automatic machines for consistency, but I do think there's something special about the interaction and watching someone make something. And during the pandemic, when we had all of the like plexiglass up or we were closed, or you could just kind of order online and then pick it up and not even talk to someone, or you had your mask on, I feel like there was a lot lost and people really miss that interaction and the visuals and the smells and everything. So I feel like
Hmm.
with coffee, yeah, we want things to be consistent and we want things to be good. So those machines can help in a certain way. Like there's better grinders now than when we started, you make things, maybe for us, it would be like making things a little easier for the baristas. So that's not so much pressure on like their wrists or standing all the time. So things like that you can use so that the job becomes a little less like physically stressful, but that you still has that interaction and the handcrafted aspect to it. Yeah, but that said, for our roastery, there's things that we think about all the time. If we had something that, I mean, we have a bag sealer, but you kind of have to put the bags in. So we don't have a loader. Like we think about different things, that little changes that we can do to help automate things just to make things work smoother, maybe make the production a little faster, and then also physically less taxing on the people that are working.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it just occurred to me, you guys really like duked it out throughout the pandemic. And I've been to New York recently, and it seems like the attitude is like very comfortable, like the recovery is gone pretty well. People are free to ride in the subways and nobody's wearing masks and everybody's like feeling good about it. Um, do you feel like in your cafes that there is like uh, some sort of recovery that's still happening both with your baristas and with your customers in terms of like, I don't know, dealing with the trauma of spending 2 years in a mask?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we haven't seen full recovery yet with some of our stores in maybe like financial district, fashion district, the Manhattan kind of places. Some people still aren't coming back, and the people that are coming back to work, they're kind of a little bit complaining maybe to baristas, or they're maybe just coming Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and like have long weekends on both sides. And there's also people that at the beginning when they'd come back, they were a little stressed out and maybe they lost some social skills or something. Definitely, it's we still see it, but overall, I feel like people are, once they get over that initial shock, like, oh, I got to go back. They're happy to have like their morning routine back and like chat. They're happy to chat and like listen to whatever music is playing. And so I think the coffee shop, I think they maybe missed it. Like, so that's good. That's good for us. I want everyone to come back 5 days a week. you know.
And are
So
you are
I
you finding, because there was also like especially last year, like last autumn, the hiring process was just horrible, and then getting
Hmm.
people to stay in the cafes was horrible. Did you experience that, and are you still experiencing that, or has that part gotten better as well?
Yeah, we had definitely a little bit of a challenge getting like feeling as we were like reopening and like ramping up, like getting people to even like show up to interviews, even if we had Zoom interviews. It was like, how is it that hard to turn on your computer? But that's like, it takes a little bit of motivation. Now it seems to be turning a corner a little bit. And we had some of our staff that were working before the pandemic come back, and now we have like a referral program. So some of the baristas, if they know people, they can refer them and they get like a certain amount. So we're just trying to find different ways of hiring, but it is a lot more interviewing to get one person than it was in the past.
Mm.
And we did also raise our wages during the pandemic and added a few things, like we added the Headspace app as a, I don't know what you call that. Like it's not really a perk, I guess, sort of a perk, but people, it's stressful working in customer service and in the public when you've just been through this where no one wanted to like touch anything. They didn't know where stuff was coming from. So I think the job of a barista has really changed. And also when this pandemic started, you were a frontline worker, you're supposed to go into work. So that thinking, if I'm a frontline worker, I deserve more, like I'm putting myself out there. So it's really has changed a lot. I don't know if
Yeah.
that answered the question, but
No, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And I was in San Francisco just like 2 months ago, and I noticed that there it's definitely recovering slower. Um, which surprised me because it's a very affluent city. But at the same time, I guess there's such a culture of people already working from home and
hmm.
things like that. So when you go downtown, the city was empty, and I was like, just very little foot traffic, and places like Oakland and stuff like that were just empty. So a lot of the cafes and everything were really sluggish to recover. Um, and Boston as well was a little bit slow, but that's even gotten much better recovery the
Hmm.
last couple months as well. So it's just interesting to hear the perspectives and kind of see like the way that different cities are rebounding afterwards. I remember, yeah, with hiring people last year, we didn't even get to. I was staffing a cafe in Manhattan, and we couldn't even interview people because they wouldn't show up.
Yeah.
So we just had to like hire them based on the resume they sent us. And then the interview was basically them working there for a week. And it was like, all right, and then you just had to start culling people out, like that was it.
Yeah, it's definitely been challenging. And we put a few things in place, like just for scheduling and try to make things easier for people to show up, know where they're showing up, and like change shifts if they need to. You just have to be more flexible now. And like, so,
Yeah.
I mean, apart from Miami is different story. So we have the Coral Gables store there, but that we closed a while there, but that seemed to be pretty steady after we opened. And um,
Well, the pandemic never happened in Florida, so
I mean, no comment.
very, very good. And there's also been a rise this year in the unions, like and
Hmm.
kind of baristas unionizing across the country. Um, I don't know, has this been any part of the conversation, or is it's something that you worry or think about?
I mean, it's definitely, we think about it. There's been some coffee shops that we know that they have had the unions start there, and that's, you know, um, I think for us, it's really what the staff want to do, and we'll just kind of work with whatever happens, because it's just if people feel like they need that as a structure, that's for them to decide. I feel, well, as an owner, I feel like we've been supported like throughout the whole our journey of the coffee shops, and we're pretty hands-on and quick to respond and transparent. But if ultimately it's really up to the employees. There's nothing I can do either way about it. So whatever comes my way, I'll accept it. Well, I sound really like hippie, but it's like pretty much I feel like, things will just go how they go and we just work through it.
That's
So
cool. You've become totally zen.
it's all that coffee. It's fine.
Yeah, it's really chilled you out. Well, Caroline, thank you so much for humoring me and answering my questions and giving your input on the state of the industry for 2022.